It's Ron Reader Digs the Universe. I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe, and tonight, the end of American football. I love football. I love the Houston Oilers, I love the Texas Longhorns, I love the LSU Tigers, I love the New Orleans Saints. I even played a couple of years in 7th and 8th grade, got a concussion even on a kickoff return play when I got hit so hard I saw stars and had no idea what was going on for the next 5 minutes or so. I'll get back to concussions here in a bit, but the point is that I love this game. I stopped playing in 9th grade in order to more fully devote myself to theater and debate, but I was hooked and still am today. From time to time, I post about my love for football on social media. Enter my college buddy John Shy, who recently called me out for supporting football as an institution of authoritarian indoctrination, continually conditioning American minds to glorify and revel in war, which football, in fact, resembles in more than a few ways. That is an assessment with which I agree, and I told him so, but added that so many aspects of our overall culture, from authoritarian school structures to campus recruiting to a corporate media establishment that never saw a war it didn't like, to thank you for your service, to support the troops, to war movies, war video games, war toys, and you get the idea that I don't feel particularly complicit in my love for this one segment of America's obsessive war fetish. So, you know, my non-support for football, trashing it, whatever, would clearly accomplish nothing. So, I indulge. Maybe I'll trash football sometime in the future. But you know what? There is another really good reason to trash football right now. CTE. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. The media isn't really talking about it nearly as much as they were a few years ago, but it's still definitely a thing, an unthinkably horrible thing. Cases of CTE stem from the repeated mild concussions virtually all players endure throughout their careers. You get them if it's a short career, you get them if it's a long career. The really big brain sloshing hits are bad, yes. I mean, definitely bad, and they definitely contribute to CTE, but the milder hits have flown under the radar for decades. Symptoms for CTE include dementia, paranoia, violence, suicide, and more. And I don't think anything can be done to make the game safer. We should simply illegalize football immediately if we are to think of ourselves as a moral people. And as a fan, that's really hard for me to accept. I don't know that I will ever be able to get my arms around it emotionally, you know? But on the other hand, I might not have to ever do anything at all. Parents are already pulling their kids from football programs because of the concussion issue, and I think this trend will continue. It's making me see what I'm sort of conceptualizing as a reverse soccer effect. Soccer, which in all other nations is known as football, just not here, go figure. Soccer got its foothold in the U.S. with little leagues, and then the schools, and then finally small-scale professional teams, and this all built a generational fan base over the decades of people who have grown up with, know, and appreciate the sport. It also created an ever-growing pool of ever-improving talent to actually play the game. So soccer's gotten big, and it grows, and it continues growing. American football might be doing this backwards. You lose the parents, you lose the kids. You lose the kids, you lose players and fans, and the whole thing dries up like a dead well. I mean, football is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, you know, from top to bottom, deeply entrenched in both our culture and economy. I personally cannot imagine it simply fading away like wide lapels or something. But CTE is as real as it is terrible. It's not going away. And given the apparent ubiquity of these brain injuries, football is pretty clearly a barbaric endeavor. As families continue to distance themselves from football, the next 20 years or so will be fascinating to observe as this all plays out. I'm Ron Reeder, and this has been Ron Reeder Digs the Universe. Join me, Ron Reeder, again next week for another episode of Ron Reeder Digs the Universe.